Toastmaster, whom I know since entry into the Toastmaster fraternity 7 years ago. And she was from Capital Toastmaster something. And she has come a long way accomplishing communication and leadership roles. By profession, she is a cake artist. In the year 2023 DTAC, she has been the winner of the evaluation speech contest, the champion, and presently she is on the PQD and CGD team of District 20. Yes, you guessed it right. She is none other than Distinguished Toastmaster Priscilla Dias, who is going to deliver a training workshop on how to judge an evaluation contest. Over to you, Distinguished Toastmaster Priscilla Dias.
Thank you, Distinguished Toastmaster Murli Manohar. Thank you for inviting me to do this workshop. Good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is, to all of you present here. It is my pleasure to do this workshop with you and to give you an understanding of what it is to judge an evaluation speech contest. Let me just share my, give me a second to do that.
Yes.
Is that fine?
Perfectly fine.
Great. So, as I said, I'm here to do the judges training for the evaluation speech contest. First of all, being a champion at the evaluation speech contest, I understand what it is for me as a contestant and as a judge, because we are referring to just that one sheet of paper that is between a contestant and a judge. But first, since this is about speaking to the judges and training the judges, I would like to ask the judges present here, those who are going to judge an evaluation speech contest, what is it that is most important to you when you judge an evaluation speech contest? Anyone? What exactly are you judging?
Listening.
You're judging
from start to end.
You're listening. Okay. And what are you judging?
Selecting the winner.
Selecting the winner. Right. Anything else? What exactly are you judging?
We are listening to the test speaker and see how the evaluators are evaluating based on that listening skills.
Okay. Thank you so much for all your answers. You all are right. And you know exactly what you're doing. But before we start, let me tell you as a judge, all those who wish to judge, what it is that is required of you. Okay. So first of all, know if you are eligible for judging. So when the chief judge gives you the judge's ballot, read it, see if you are eligible, understand what the judging criteria is. It should not be like, okay, when I'm going there to the contest hall, I will see what it is. Understand the judge's criteria as soon as you've been asked to take up the task of a judge, and then sign the form and submit to the chief judge. You're done with the first task. The second thing, what I would ask of any judge who is evaluating a speech, judging a speech, evaluation speech contest, should be present in the hall when the MC introduces the contest chair. Now, you would look at it that this is important for a contestant, equally important for a judge. Okay? Toastmaster Bindu said, listen attentively, and I would say, reiterate here, listen attentively to the test speech and make notes. So for that, you please carry your pen and extra paper to write notes, because you're not just going to use the ballot sheet, but you're also going to make your own notes of the test speech. And then listen to each evaluator attentively and again, make notes so that you can award the points on the ballot sheet. And lastly, follow the judging criteria. So now let's move on to the judging criteria. So what exactly is the judging criteria for an evaluation speech contest? Let's have a look at the judges' guide and ballot sheet. This is what a typical ballot sheet looks like. There are only 4 categories, four criteria that you need to award points to an evaluator. So it's very simple, not the huge list of which goes with the international humorous speech or the table topics. Here we have just 4 criteria that we need to really focus on. And the rest of the sheet, I've just attached it here for your reference. Judges, you need to sign, put your name, and accordingly, based on your total scores, then put in the first place, second place, third place. Well, I think the others have covered this. So let's move on to page 2 of the ballot sheet. Now, page 2 of the ballot sheet could be given to you by the chief judge as page 2 printed on a separate page, or it could be printed on the reverse of the ballot sheet page. When it's on the reverse, the tendency is that we do not turn back and read what's on the reverse. So even before you head to the contest hall or to the meeting room, look at the judge's ballot sheet, both pages, page 1 and page 2, because page 2 is going to let you know how you're going to judge, how you're going to give those points on page 1. So let's have a look at each judging criteria for the evaluation speech contest. As I said, only 4 criteria: the analytical quality, recommendations, the technique used, and the summation. And of course, we have the Judges' Code of Ethics, which our first trainer has already elaborated upon. But for yourselves, always go and check what is required of you as a judge. Now, moving on to each criteria for evaluation speech contest, the first one being analytical quality. Now, what do we mean by analytical quality? Can anybody describe or define analytical or analyze? That's what we have to look for. What do you mean by analyze?
I think it is to do with understanding of the entire speech and what is the message and what is the important summary of the whole speech, which is understood by the judge. And then
so
this is what I've understood. This is what you have tried to explain. Is it doesn't need to be the speech wording itself, but it is an own wording of the judge explaining what was expected by the speaker.
Okay. So thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Kalijala. Analyze or analytical quality here would mean exactly understanding the entire speech, the crux of the speech, to know the message that comes out from the speech. To make it even to go further, what I would say is analyze is to break down that speech. To break down that speech, to break down each element of that speech, and to understand how it is related to each other. To break down the content of the speech, to break down the delivery of the speech, and to then understand what the take-home message is. And this skill of analyzing is what we are judging in an evaluation speech contest. So the most important thing is for anybody to analyze, for an evaluator to analyze, for that contestant to analyze, he should be clear and focused. So that when he breaks down the speech, there should be clarity in that breakdown. There should be a focus. It should not be about going back and forth. If it is white, it is white. If it is black, it is black. So let's see how how it can be done. Now, first of all, analytic quality refers to the effectiveness of the evaluation. So if the analysis is done extremely to the point, then the effectiveness will be seen. And by this we mean, for this purpose, an evaluator, a contestant who, in an evaluation speech contest should go to the contest with an idea, or go prepared, as I would say. Go with an idea of what you are going to evaluate. You are the speaker, the evaluator doesn't know what the speaker is going to speak, but the speaker, the evaluator, will still go with preparedness. And this is what helps judges to notice if the evaluator, if the contestant was prepared. And that will show in the effectiveness of the evaluation. Now, coming to, while evaluating, judges look for these things. Did the evaluator identify the specific strengths and weaknesses? So the evaluator would have, in his evaluation, mentioned what the speaker did good and where he needs to improve. Now, just identifying and saying, oh, you had eye contact, or you used the stage well, you had vocal variety, or if you had done this and that, your speech would have been better, is not just enough. It's important for the evaluator to analyze it and put it into perspective. So to analyze the strengths would mean having to pinpoint exactly where the speaker demonstrated those strengths. So having to say, if you want to talk about having to use the stage, an evaluator would have walked the length of the stage to demonstrate the same as what the speaker did, that being his strength, to divide the stage according to his storyline. So analyzing is more important than just identifying the strengths and weaknesses. So coming to weaknesses, if the evaluator brought to the attention of the speaker that what he was looking for is vocal variety, the pace at which the speech was delivered could have been much more different, or at a point how the pace could be used, the rate at which the speaker spoke, if and when the evaluator demonstrates it, then it's effective. So this is what judges should look for. The analysis, the analyzing, the logical way of putting in that evaluation. Coming to the fourth point, were the evaluators' comment clear and logical? And coming to clear and logical, as I said, an evaluator could have come prepared with his evaluation. Now, having said that, I have seen evaluators come to the stage so well prepared that they do not say anything about the speech, but just come and give their own speech as an evaluator. Mind you, judges pay close attention to identify whether that is an evaluation of the speech or whether it was a prepared speech to cover up an evaluation speech. To look for words that, as a judge, you can look for things like when the speaker says, I will be evaluating the speech on three aspects, or he or she would use the theme in the evaluation, the theme of the contest, or have say I would evaluate the speech based on what I heard, what I saw, how I felt. Now, when that is put at the very beginning of the speech evaluation, judges look for in the the content of that evaluator's speech, if they have used those very first few words that they have said. So if the evaluator has said, I will evaluate the speech based on the 3 C's: consistency, conciseness, and clarity, then see in the content that they have used this to explain or to analyze that speech. Okay. So that also tells a judge that the evaluator has a clear, his evaluation is focused on these 3 things, or his evaluation is focused on these 2 things. So that also helps in judging or giving those points that go right away to this analytical quality of delivering an evaluation speech. The 40 marks go out to this maximum 40, which is not possible to achieve, but this is the biggest chunk of all the marks that go into. So it's very important that this particular segment, this particular criteria is judged to the point. Let's move on to the next criteria, and that is recommendations. Recommendations form a very important part, but how would those recommendations be really worthwhile? They need to be positive, specific, and helpful. So judges, when you're looking at the recommendations made by the evaluator, speech evaluation, look for if the recommendations are positive, specific, and helpful. We know that recommendations is important because that's what an evaluation is about: how to help the speaker grow, how to help the speaker improve. That's the reason why we need to make recommendations. So if you come across an evaluation speech that doesn't cover recommendations, then you know, and it's not possible. There has to be recommendation. It's not like attending a club meeting and saying, oh, you're a DTM. I was expecting the speech from you and I have nothing to recommend to you. That would not happen in a contest. Even the contestants know that they have to make a recommendation. So please look out for that recommendation, even if it be one recommendation. Coming to the recommendations being practical, helpful, and positive. First, what would be practical and specific, as well I would put it, is having, if the evaluator would have demonstrated in which would make it specific, to the point, bringing it out from the speech, that at this point in your speech, this is what happened, and this is how if it had happened in this manner, then your speech would have been much better. So let there be that moment of demonstrating by the evaluator of how the speech could have been improved when it comes to recommendations. And look for recommendations should enable the speaker to improve. So obviously, if the recommendation is demonstrated, is if there is contrast is shown between what the speaker spoke and the evaluator gives in contrast how it could have been said, and that would help improve the speaker at his or her next speech. So again, for recommendations, there's 30 points. So look very carefully for what recommendations have been made and the manner in which they have been recommended. With that, we move on to the third criteria, and the third criteria is technique used. Now, in an evaluation, you could be, most of the time we say, our target speaker, and we want to target the speaker. So evaluators would tend to do it, but when they are at a contest, they are aware that they have to do, the technique that they would be using is to be sympathetic, sensitive, or motivational. So when in that delivery, when they're analyzing and recommending, look for how they are, the technique they're using to recommend, especially recommend, to be sensitive of the feeling of the speaker and then accordingly recommend. In the technique, it's all about the play of words, the positive words used, the encouraging words used in your speech, in the speech delivered by the evaluator would count for the technique that has been used. So based on that, you then give them a score or out of 15. In technique, it would also mean how you would end up or conclude with the speech, how the evaluator concluded his speech on a positive note, on a motivation. Did he motivate and encourage the speaker is where you can draw your attention to and accordingly mark the speaker. And then coming to the final category, that is the summation. Very important part where I remember very well that I had forgotten summation as a contestant. So it is even more imperative that the judges look for the summation. Now, what I've seen is, of course, summation needs to be concise and encouraging. So when we mean concise, it should have just the points that have been elaborated upon in the form of weaknesses, in the form of commending and recommending. And what we need to do is look for that positive and encouraging summation. So if the evaluator closes on this note of yet again congratulating the speaker for taking the stand and delivering the speech and leaving a positive, leaving a feel good take home message, then these are the things you could look for in summation. Also, if you want to make sure that that the evaluator has covered summation, look for the evaluator saying in summation, in conclusion. Now, if you don't hear these two words from the evaluator, that does not mean that they have not summarized. They could even be as simple as, let me take you back to what I said about about what you did well and what you need to improve upon. So it could be that simple, but look for it that they have reiterated the points that they mentioned during the analytical phase when they were analyzing the speech, when they were making their recommendations. I think this is the simplest of all the judging that we can do, because we are analyzing a speech that is an analyzation of a speech. I hope you got that. And here we have 15 points. So this 15 points is, again, if as a speaker, as an evaluation contestant, I look at it, you could lose these points if the summation is not there. Judges were usually, the summation ends up being really very crisp because the speakers are running out of time, the evaluators. So at that point, you need to really be attentive as how the speaker has concluded the speech, the evaluation speech. And of course, if you need anything, the best place to go to is to the speech contest rule book. Carry the book with you. If you're only doing evaluation contests, then refer to page 20. And of course, refer to page 5 for the general rules. Go up to your chief judge if you have any questions to ask. And remember that evaluation is very important. As DTM Bindu said, what counts for is the listening. If you listen well, take down the notes, then you can compare your notes with what the evaluation contestant is saying. And based on that, you can always give the best score and judge to the best of your knowledge. And let's have that winner, that distinguished Toastmaster Murli said, that when we are voting, when we are judging, we are looking for the winner. With that, I am done with my workshop. And I would like to hand over to the Toastmaster of the day or the MC Toastmaster, Distinguished Toastmaster, Murli Varam.